What is insanity in criminal law? Insanity is a legal defense, not a medical diagnosis. It applies when, at the time of the offense, the accused was suffering from a defect of reason caused by a disease of the mind, such that they did not understand the nature or quality of their act, or did not know that what they were doing was wrong. What rules govern the defense of insanity in the UK? What rules govern the defense of insanity in the UK? The defense of insanity in the UK is governed by the Magnotta Rules of 1843. What are the Magnotta Rules? To succeed, the defendant must prove that at the time of the act, they were suffering from a defect of reason caused by a disease of the mind, which resulted in either not knowing the nature and quality of the act, or not knowing that the act was legally wrong. What is meant by defect of reason? What is meant by defect of reason? A defect of reason means an impaired ability to reason, not merely emotions such as anger or excitement, but the temporary confusion alone is insufficient. What qualifies as a disease of the mind? What qualifies as a disease of the mind? It includes internal medical conditions that affects the brain, such as epilepsy, schizophrenia, diabetes, which may be hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, and is internally caused. See the case of Regina against Kemp, in which hardening of arteries affecting the brain was a disease of the mind. What is meant by not knowing the nature and quality of the act? Not knowing the nature and quality of the act. This refers to physical awareness, not moral judgment. Example, if a defendant did not realize they were stabbing a person, believing they were cutting bread. See the case of Regina against Cordera. What does not knowing the act was wrong mean? What does not knowing the act was wrong mean? Wrong here means legally wrong and not morally wrong. See the case of Regina against Windu, where the defendant said, "I suppose they all hang me for this." It shows awareness of legal wrongfulness. Who bears the burden of proof in insanity? Who bears the burden of proof in insanity? The defendant bears the burden on the balance of probabilities, which is unlike most criminal proceedings. What is the verdict if insanity is proved? In the UK, the verdict is not guilty by reason of insanity, which may lead to hospital order or supervision or an absolute discharge under the Criminal Procedure Insanity Act of 1964 as amended. How does Nigerian law treat insanity? Insanity is recognized under Section 28 of the Nigerian Criminal Code in southern Nigeria and Section 51 of the Penal Code in northern Nigeria. The test is also similar to the McNaughton rule, in which lack of capacity to understand actions or inability to know the act was wrong due to mental disease applies. What is automatism? What is automatism? Automatism is a defense where the defendant acted involuntarily with a total loss of control or consciousness so that the act was not willed. What is the difference between insanity and automatism? What is the difference between insanity and automatism? Insanity is internally caused. Automatism is externally caused. Insanity leads to special verdicts. Automatism leads to full acquittal. Insanity is a disease of the mind, while automatism is a temporary external factor. What is internal cause in insanity? An internal cause originates within the body or mind, such as epilepsy, diabetes, mental illness. See the case of Regina against Sullivan, in which epileptic seizure was classed as insanity. What is external cause in automatism? An external cause comes from outside the body, such as blow to the head, drugs administered by others, hypoglycemia caused by insulin plus lack of food, see the case of Regina against Quick. In the case of hypoglycemia, which equates automatism. What are the elements of automatism? The defendant must show total loss of voluntary control, which was caused by an external factor and not self-induced, except in limited circumstances. What does total loss of control mean? What does total loss of control mean? Partial control is insufficient. The defendant must have had no conscious control. See Attorney General's reference number 2 of 1992, where partial control does not equate to automatism. Can self-induced automatism be a defense? Generally, this is no, especially where the defendant was reckless, and the defense is one of basic intent. See the case of Regina against Bailey. What is the effect of automatism if successful? What is the effect of automatism if successful? It results in a complete acquittal because the accused is absent. How is automatism treated in Nigeria? How is automatism treated in Nigeria? Nigerian courts recognize automatism under the Criminal Code Section 24, voluntariness. An act done without will or control are not criminal. Key distinction to remember for exam purposes. Key distinctions to remember for exam purposes. Internal cause is insanity, which results to special verdict. External cause is automatism, which leads to acquittal. Closing exam tip: always identify loss of control. Ask whether the cause is internal or external, and apply the correct legal consequence. Thank you.